surgery in his stomach. And it's sad because all the kids that he raised that were adopted, you know, they didn't come to see him. They wanted something. They wanted
A really scary thing about
Good morning, everybody. It is a Monday morning at 9 o'clock. You are watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for joining us to start your work week for a lot of you from 9 to 11. We bring you the latest news, local coverage, as well as state, national, and international news. We are also covering as we count down to that 1 year mark when Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina, and it has been a struggle for a lot of folks trying to get back on their feet. Michelle Bowden covering a number of stories and angles following up 1 year later as we are counting down to Hurricane Helene's 1 year mark.
This is the second home they've finished in North Carolina, handing over the keys to very grateful homeowners who've had a very difficult year.
Oh, they have been wonderful.
Steve and Deborah Hughes are overwhelmed standing in front of their home, completely redone.
It was bad. It was really bad.
After floods from Hurricane Helene destroyed it. The nonprofit Appalachia Service Project, ASP, made it happen.
Today is a good day. The disaster recovery tends to be measured in years, not months. It's not fast, and it is a slog, and our hearts remain faithful to those that are still recovering. But I think it's good and right when you've completed something to step back every once in a while, celebrate joy, successes, and give you that energy to continue on the recovery path.
Prior to Helene, ASB focused on finding permanent housing for people, but quickly pivoted after the storm.
But we had so many families that were out of homes, that had nowhere to go, that Lowe's really walked alongside us to be able to place temporary housing units on people's properties until they had a chance to get a permanent solution.
They delivered these tiny homes across the mountain region, many of them built in Charlotte. Also in Charlotte, ASP teamed up with area builders to get portable showers made because so many were without water. We were there when the prototype of the Appalachia Shower Project was coming together.
When I came in here, I almost started sobbing to see how quickly an idea could help people.
Now, though, the focus is on getting people back into their homes. ASP plans to build 200 new homes. They've got the first 100 paid for, but they need help covering the rest.
It's a long road ahead.
They have very big goals and very big needs to meet those goals. If you'd like to help, we've got all the information you need. It's on our website, WCNC.com. Reporting in Avery County, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
And now we are back out here live just after 9 o'clock. Want to get you started with your work week weather. Majestic Storm is checking things out. Good morning, Majestic. Happy Monday to you.
Good morning, you guys.
Feels pretty good out there.
Not too bad. Definitely
too bad.
not as cool as last week, though, when it felt so crisp and fall.
It was really nice last week.
It was nice, but we can't complain. It's comfortable for a Monday. We don't have a ton of sunshine, but we're still looking at a lot of different things. So let's just get straight into it. I want to start with one of my live camera shots. I found this one coming in from App State, so out there in Boone. I've noticed some of the trees are starting to change colors. We have a lot of oranges and reds and yellows, so pretty, and I did not see this last week, so it basically happened over the weekend. Dry conditions, though. Now this morning, if you are getting ready to head out the door, if you have someplace to be, again, can't complain. It's comfortable, very mild conditions, mainly into the 50s and 60s early this morning, and then by the afternoon, mostly cloudy skies, so not a ton of sunshine. I think we'll have some sun breaks here and there, but overall more clouds than sunshine today. It's going to be a little humid as well, and then tomorrow our temperatures, they won't even touch 80 degrees, so a bit of a cooler day on Tuesday. Still some isolated chances for some showers, and then taking a look ahead, we do have a warm up on the way with mid to upper 80s, possibly a low 90 degree temperature returning. We'll get to that, but if you're just waking up, turning in and turning on the stream, this is what you need to know, is that now's a good time if you want to head out for a morning run or walk, or maybe you just want to sit outside with your hot cup of coffee. It's comfortable, mid 60s in Hickory. It's already 70 degrees in Charlotte though, and yesterday was a gorgeous Sunday. Hopefully you're able to get outside and enjoy some of that nice weather. We topped off at 86 degrees, and today I'm forecasting 84, so a little cooler, but not really that noticeable. I think the biggest thing that we'll notice is that it won't be quite as sunny. We've seen some patchy fog this morning out in the mountain locations. It's still lingering a little here here and there, limiting down visibility for some. 60s and 70s for your daytime highs today in the mountains and the foothills. Plan for low 80s. A little bit warmer for Charlotte metro area from Charlotte to Gastonia, even out towards Shelby. We'll top off around 84 degrees, 85 from Lancaster to Chesterfield. So right around where we should be for this time of the year. Now tomorrow, those clouds, they are going to be stubborn. They're going to be thick, and overall our temperatures will struggle to warm. I think really for our Tuesday, only mid to upper 70s. But notice as we're wrapping up our work week, we'll have more sunshine and temperatures start to get a little warmer with upper 80s on the way as we're looking towards Friday. And I wouldn't be surprised for some areas to actually reach those low 90-degree temperatures. So generally above average daytime highs, above average temperatures for us, and Climate Prediction Center is also showing that this trend is also going to continue for much of the country over the next 6 to 10 days. That would take us all the way until September 25th, where we're holding on to above average conditions. Live camera looks though out there at Lake Norman. You can still see some people getting their morning walk in. Still very nice, very comfortable. It's just not absolutely picture perfect gorgeous. This though isn't looking too bad. This is out there in Lylesville in Anson County. We can just see some sunshine mixed in with some cloud coverage. Now here's your planner for the rest of the day, whether you're picking up kiddos after school today or maybe you just want to take your lunch outside for your lunch break. Plan for 80s, low to mid 80s, and again, a little muggy at times, so it's going to feel just a bit warmer than that. Again, here's a live camera look all coming in. Again, more cloud coverage will continue to increase as we head towards the later half of the day, so if you're waking up and you have a little sunshine in your neighborhood, take advantage of it. Isolated rain chances today, tomorrow, Wednesday, so generally we do have rain chances over the next 7 days. It's just not a whole lot, and here's the reason why. Here's our satellite and radar. We have this area of low pressure off the coast. Now it's bringing with it some rain showers and more impactful weather for eastern North Carolina. Meanwhile, the low doesn't move that much inland, so because of that, we're mainly just going to get some breezy conditions with it and cloudy skies. Again, some stray showers here and there, but we're not talking about widespread rain or a washout by any means. But you know, we kind of actually need some rain. It's starting to get quite dry across the Carolinas. So the eastern half of the state, I suspect, will get some much needed rain today and tomorrow, and for us today and tomorrow we'll just see more of that isolated to spotty rain shower activity. You can see the greatest chances for rain will be that area shaded in orange, and then it kind of just continues to go down and down. So up in the mountains you'll even have a lesser chance to see rain. Do want to give you a quick update on the tropics because National Hurricane Center now has this next wave possibly turning into our next named system. Over the next 2 days it's about a 30% chance, but over the next 7 days it's an 80% chance of that happening. So we've been kind of quiet at the Atlantic. We've been watching, of course, what's going on, and it's been very, very quiet, which is always nice. But if this turns into our next named storm, it would be Gabrielle. So we'll keep you up to date with that. Again, if that happened, it would probably happen over the next 7 days at the latest. There's our 7-day forecast. Cloudy skies this afternoon, 84 for our high, 60s overnight tonight, and then tomorrow not even reaching 80 degrees. But then as we're towards the middle to end of our work week, we'll start to see more sunshine, warmer weather, upper 80s, possibly low 90 degrees on Friday. And then this weekend looks just really nice, still comfortable and still holding on to more above average temperatures.
Don't we need some rain, though, Majestic?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like, you know, we have some opportunities in our 7-day forecast, but 20 to 30% chance. I mean,
Not
that
enough.
means most of us, we're going to stay dry. And any rain that we get, it's not like it's going to be a downpour. It's not like, you know, we do need some rain. Things are starting to get dry. And in order to have really pretty fall colors, we need to get that moisture. We can't be in a drought or anything like that. So getting a little nervous there.
Oh, boy. So this looks pretty nice to get out there and get those last minutes of summer like weather.
Yes.
I can't believe we're going to touch 90 once again. Flirt with 90 in some areas, huh?
I know. Here we go.
Here we go. All right. You know, once fall hits, it's got to be winter and then forget about it. We're going to have the winter blues. So
True.
enjoy this week. Thank you, Majestic.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you coming in here. Right now, time is 9:10. I want to go to what is happening live. Like I said, we cover your local news headlines, your weather with Majestic, as well as what's happening on the national and international stage. Happening live right now in Boston, Massachusetts. This is Senator Collins. She is speaking at the Mass General's Global Medical Innovation Forum, discussing right now healthcare cuts, federal fundings, and cuts to National Science Foundation. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Away from that commitment. We've seen grants canceled, many in mid-enrollment. Is there still an energy and enthusiasm in the Congress for this type of research, given the deprioritization by the current administration of this issue?
It is more controversial than the overall number for the budget for NIH, but I think that's because we need to educate people about health disparities in particular. I divide it into two categories. When I think of health equities, I think of the authority that the Secretary of HHS has to award grants that will deal with housing, with food insecurity, with factors that affect people's health. We just had a breakout, a bad breakout, in Bangor, Maine, where I live, of HIV among those who are unsheltered and are drug users as well. And it's a horrible breakout, the worst that we've seen. So that's an area where you can legitimately ask if there were more vouchers, if there were more homeless shelters, if there were more wraparound services to deal with the problems, would that outbreak have occurred? I don't think so. And the fact is that outbreak not only has terrible consequences for those affected, but it's also very costly. And in many ways, it's more costly than dealing with the underlying factors. There is a project going on in North Carolina that was awarded by the first Trump administration to look at housing, hunger, other equities, to see transportation as one, to see if it makes a difference not only in healthcare but in lowering costs. And the data is preliminary, but it suggests that it does. Those kinds of projects have been canceled. Health disparities, to me, are a different issue. To me, one of the best examples that I would urge you to share with your legislators is the difference in maternal mortality rates. For Black women, the rate is, I believe the number is 12 times higher than for white women. For Asian women who are pregnant, it is lower than for white women. To me, investigating why is that is really important, because if we don't understand why there is such a dramatic difference in maternal mortality among these three groups, we're not going to be able to figure out a solution. So to me, that is very worthy research to identify why that disparity exists. And what I think the administration did is use AI to go through grants and pick out certain words. And if certain words, for example, this happened in a grant that affects our fishermen, our lobstermen in Maine. It's part of the Sea Grant program. Because it had the word climate change, because obviously warmer waters affect the lobster population, it goes further north. And but if you had the word climate change or sustainability in the grant application, the grant was paused or frozen. Now, I helped the University of Maine and the industry reapply, and they're able to do the same thing, but use more words that aren't red flags to AI and to this administration. So you might want to think about that as you draft your grants. A lot of times you can accomplish exactly the same goals, and indeed we were successful in getting the grant reestablished in Maine. But that's, we've talked a lot in the Tech Hub about the wonders of AI, but there's some downsides too.
Well, thank you for your advocacy in all those areas, and I'll just maybe comment on the remarks you made about the social determinants of health, housing insecurity, food insecurity, and the like. As an emergency physician, I saw the end result of that through most of my career, and we'll have a chance actually in this forum to talk more about this, actually a little bit later today when we celebrate the Kraft Award in Community Health. So you mentioned indirect costs a few minutes ago, and I said we'd come back to it, so let's come back to it. So the Trump administration announced its intention to lower the NIH indirect cost rate to 15%, a massive reduction for some organizations, many organizations. So this would have enormous impact on biomedical and life science research across academic institutions across the country. What was your reaction to that, and what role will your committee have in getting us to a resolution? It's, of course, in the courts right now.
I was shocked. First of all, one size does not fit all, and this was an arbitrary 15% cap that was applied across the board rather than the negotiations that occur between NIH or other scientific agencies and the grant recipient. So this came out of the blue, but I was shocked for another reason. In our appropriations bill, we had specific language that prevented the administration from changing the way indirect costs were applied and calculated and negotiated. So this should not have happened, which is why it is in court now. Having said that, we do need to have more transparency.
You have been watching live now a healthcare event out of Massachusetts with Senator Collins out of Maine. Right now, we need to take a quick 2-minute break. Back with a special guest here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All here with you. Jane Monreal back here with you on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We have a special guest with us right now, John Fleps, Chief Safety Officer for Norfolk Southern Corporation. From today through the 21st, it is National See Tracks Think Train Week. So a perfect time here, John, to focus on railroad safety awareness. Why is safety education so important right now?
Rail safety education is everybody's duty, everybody's responsibility. We take it incredibly seriously at Norfolk Southern and in the industry. And we use this week, C-Tracks Think Train Week, as an opportunity for everybody to kind of recommit themselves to what safety looks like around grade crossings whenever they're crossing the tracks, either in a vehicle or on foot.
Yeah, I'm looking at a sobering statistic. Every 3 hours in the U.S., a person or vehicle involved in a train collision. That seems staggering.
It is. And generally, it's not the first time that those individuals have crossed the tracks at that location. You know, a danger that everybody is susceptible to is complacency. Many of us may have crossed the same tracks day in and day out for years and haven't seen a train at a particular time, or are used to seeing it coming and decide it's worth the risk to try and beat the train going around the gates. Unfortunately, those are the leading contributing causes when we look at these kind of tragedies. Every 3 hours, a person or a vehicle is being struck at a crossing somewhere. And one of the really important details that some folks may take for granted is how fast and quiet trains actually are. If you see a headlight at a crossing, odds are it's too late for that train to stop. It can take them over a mile once they hit the brakes to come to a complete stop.
Wow. I mean, and so many, I'm learning that 60% of these vehicle train collisions happen at said gates and warning signals. What other misconceptions do people have?
First, railroad tracks are private property. A lot of folks may assume they're owned by the government, but really the railroads are some of the biggest property owners in the country. If you find yourself within 50 feet of any tracks and you're not at a crossing, odds are you're trespassing illegally. And besides the fact that it's against the law and it could get you arrested, it is a very, very dangerous place to be. So if you ever have that temptation, or you hear somebody who wants to go, for example, take graduation photos or wedding photos near the tracks, again, it's a bad idea. It's illegal. It could lead to a tragedy. The railroad tracks are never a way to get from A to B. So if you need to get across a road or get across a body of water, using a railroad bridge is a way to put yourself in a really, really dangerous position that's really hard to get out of. Communicating about this with the people you care about is so important.
And we do see so many young people get involved with, those pictures that you said. What other safety concerns should people be concerned about for really anyone of any age?
So if you're pulling a trailer, be really careful about crossing the tracks. There may be a sign posted at the location that'll let you know if it's a crossing that has a ground clearance restriction. A lot of our grade crossing accidents involve trailers that get stuck on the tracks. The other is if you're approaching a grade crossing, you see those lights start to flash, those gates start to come down, your instinct should be to hit the brakes. Do not hit the gas. Do not try to swerve around the gates. As you mentioned, most of the crossing accidents that do occur at those locations that have gates, and often it's people trying to beat the gates, beat the train, and they get their vehicles stuck trying to swerve around them.
Yeah, I mean, we all need to get somewhere at a certain time. Everyone's in such a rush, but obviously not worth it. Why Norfolk Southern? Why get involved with this campaign?
Operation Lifesaver is a nonprofit. It's a great partner of ours. Their mission is one thing and one thing only, and it's public safety around railroad tracks. We work with them this specific week, but really all year round, to get the word out, to create that awareness, and to help people maybe sharpen their respect for safety around railroad tracks.
And with Hurricane Helene finished, with the repairs there and the safety precautions being taken in Western North Carolina, we have so many railroad tracks running through our state, right? How are the safety, how is that process coming along for Norfolk Southern?
Yeah, so our efforts to restore operations in Western North Carolina have been, they've been staggering since last year. We're proud to say we have trains operating back into Asheville. It was a really, really proud experience for us as an organization, working with the communities where we operate to restore operations, to get service back to our customers, and help get life back to normal in those communities.
Yeah, so important to see that. And it seems like it's a painstaking process, but we're happy to see it. For parents and families watching, any other safety measures or message you want to get out there?
Yeah, one last thing. So at every crossing in America, there is a little blue sign posted. It's called the ENS sign, stands for Emergency Notification Sign. It's got two super important pieces of information. The first is a phone number. It's the number that is going to get you straight to that railroad's dispatch center. So if there's a problem, if you see a vehicle stuck or you see an emergency around the tracks, awareness of that sign is critical. The second piece of information that's on there is a unique identifier that is going to help that dispatcher know exactly where you're at. They'll be able to get in contact with any trains that might be operating in the area, and they could get them stopped in time. Seconds really matter, so knowing about that little blue sign and what to do when you see an emergency can sometimes be the difference between a close call and a tragedy.
All right, John Fleps, Chief Safety Officer for Norfolk Southern Corporation. We appreciate your time this morning. Good reminders and information we might not have known. So thank you for that. We will definitely keep safe here in Charlotte. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And time right now as we come up on 9:30. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It's a Monday morning here, just about closing in on 9:30 on a Monday morning. I'm Jane Monreal. We appreciate you downloading the WCNC app to your Roku, Fire, and Apple TVs and bringing us along throughout your day. One of the international headlines this morning covering a story where U.S. Secretary Rubio is in Jerusalem today, just speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Keir Simmons there in Jerusalem. He has the latest now here on WCNC Plus.
This morning, the Secretary of State and Prime Minister of Israel holding a news conference.
Israel's decision to act against the Hamas terrorist leadership in Qatar was a wholly independent decision by Israel. We assume full responsibility for it.
We are focused on what happens now.
But the fury felt by Israel's neighbors unabated this morning. Meeting in Qatar after the Israeli strike on a residential compound here housing Hamas negotiators. President Trump warning Israel overnight.
They have to do something about Hamas, but Qatar has been a great ally. So Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
Qatar calling it state terrorism. Israel saying it targeted senior leaders responsible for the October 7th attacks. Hamas says Israel only killed lower-level officials. President Trump welcomed here just months ago, Qatar donating a plane to replace Air Force One. But President Trump's hope for an end to the war has been set back. Overnight, Israel launching more strikes on Gaza City, killing at least 55 on Sunday, according to the health ministry in Hamas-ruled Gaza. Home to hundreds of thousands of civilians, some fleeing, others holding out ahead of a planned Israeli offensive. 16-year-old Nadine Abdel Latif in Gaza, pleading for an end.
Why is this war like this? Why are they doing this to us? We're human beings.
And that was Keir Simmons reporting from Jerusalem. We do understand that the UN is meeting right now as well on the situation in Gaza. They are taking a break, but we may dip into their live meeting that is streaming online here on WCNC Plus. Right now, though, Senator Collins from Maine, Senator Susan Collins speaking at the General's Global Medical Innovation Forum at this healthcare event. We continue to listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
No, there certainly are. You know, your comment about the percentage of Maine residents who are supported by Medicaid is not that different than in Massachusetts.
Really?
Very close, yeah. So you identified the two major threats of the reduction in Medicaid funding. The first, of course, is to patients, making it hard for patients to re-enroll who would be eligible, making it harder for patients to get primary and scheduled preventive care. And the second big impact is going to be on the hospitals and healthcare systems that are still, as you pointed out and correctly, still have to take care of patients and want to take care of patients regardless of whether they still qualify for Medicaid. Given the expected negative impact on public health of this bill overall as it rolls out, and as you point out, we won't feel the full impact until 27 and 28, but in the event that there is that negative impact that we fear, do you think there'll be an opportunity either at your committee in Congress or at the White House to revisit this and think about mitigating legislation or appropriation to try to support this community of patients and, of course, the healthcare systems in America?
So the area that I do not have direct jurisdiction over is Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. That's in the Finance Committee. I have jurisdiction over what is called discretionary spending, which is why that includes NIH. I don't see the states having the ability to step up and fill the gap here. I just don't. Even wealthy states, I just don't see that happening. And as the implications of the bill become better known, I think there's going to be tremendous pressure on Congress to change the law. But we're going to need the evidence, the stories, the research that didn't occur when getting back to NIH, although I really am optimistic on NIH, but people who didn't get the care in time because they were diagnosed only when they show up at your emergency room rather than by a primary care physician. So if we start seeing Americans getting sicker as a result of this, having delayed treatment, because they no longer have the coverage, and if it's combined with changes in the Affordable Care Act that also would restrict coverage or make coverage more expensive to get on the exchange, then I think you will see a lot of pressure to take a better look at this. This doesn't mean, however, that we shouldn't look at ways to reduce the cost of health care. Medicare and Medicaid are going through the roof. I mean, the costs are extremely high. To me, the answer is found in a lot of the technology that I've seen, in appropriate use of AI, of reducing some of the administrative burden. When I learned there are more than 150,000 codes that many insurers use, no wonder physicians and other healthcare providers are so discouraged by the paperwork that they have to go through. And we see that on prior authorization. We see that on CMS being very slow to approve the 2 new drugs for Alzheimer's that have been shown, if administered early enough, to slow cognitive decline by some 30%. That's amazing and would have huge cost implications, not to mention the impact on people's lives and their caregivers and family members.
Well, thank you, Senator, and you did sneak ahead to a topic. No, that's good, because we may not have time to get your thoughts on healthcare costs writ large, and you gave us a preview, at least, of your thinking about efficient, which we certainly must do. But let's take a moment and talk about vaccines. So you've been a longtime champion of vaccine research and development, and that has paid benefits for the American people in many, many ways. In the first few months of this administration, though, we've seen cancellation of mRNA research funding, and we've seen the dismissal of key members of committees that advise the federal government on vaccine policies. What's your reaction to this approach? How much concern does it bring you? And what are the steps forward for all of us?
I oppose Secretary Kennedy's move to fire all the members of the Independent Advisory Board on Vaccines. I believe that's going to lead to less independent and less professional recommendations. When I read that the state of Florida has lifted its vaccination requirements for school children, I am really worried that we're going to see outbreaks of measles. It's already happened in Texas, in this country, totally preventable outbreaks of measles. I remember talking to a pediatric nurse practitioner in the state of Maine, and she was talking about children in the school who have autoimmune diseases that prevent them from being vaccinated. And she said, if you don't create that herd immunity by the rest of the children being vaccinated, you're compromising their health. And I always thought that was a great example, and I was so grateful for my conversation with her, and I've used that many times. The CDC, the firing of the CDC's director, Susan Monterez, who I've dealt with extensively, and she called me. We discussed her imminent firing. I called her after she was fired, and she was on the job less than a month. She is a very well-respected scientist, and 4 of the top CDC people resigned in protest, and they I talked with one of them just last Friday, and she's been at the CDC for 11 years. She is well respected all across the globe. And Susan put it best to me. She said,
You've been watching Live, a healthcare event out of Boston, Massachusetts with Senator Susan Collins. We will get back to that here in a few minutes. But right now, I want to let you know that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said today that the U.S. and China have reached a framework for a TikTok deal. There was a deadline come Wednesday that was going to affect the access to TikTok in the U.S., and it looks like this is happening just days before that deadline. Let's get the very latest here on WCNC+.
They're negotiating TikTok right now.
The U.S. could ban TikTok from American app stores Wednesday. That's unless a non-Chinese company acquires it. President Donald Trump says officials from the U.S. and China are trying to reach an agreement for such a sale.
We may let it die, or we may, I don't know, it depends, up to China. It doesn't matter too much.
The ban stems from bipartisan legislation former President Joe Biden signed into law last year. It prevents TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, from maintaining ownership of the app. The law cites concerns over national security and data privacy.
A bipartisan majority in Congress wanted to see this TikTok app either sold, divested, or banned. And yet here it is still online.
The reason TikTok is still available in the U.S. is that Trump has delayed enforcing the ban 3 times. He could use an executive order to try and do so again.
His critics say it's one of the most egregious abuses of presidential power, basically claiming that he has the ability to nullify laws.
Trump credits TikTok with helping him win last year's election. He says he wants to reach a deal to keep it available to Americans.
I'd like to do it for the kids that like it.
So he's recognizing the incredible popularity of TikTok, but he does seem somewhat agnostic about the future.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And we'll be back here on Live Impact News in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us. Good morning, everybody. Just about 9:45 right now on a Monday morning. I'm Jane Monreal, and now we want to talk about energy bills. I know those costs are climbing across the country. Many families have been searching for ways to cut costs at home, but time is now running out on a crucial opportunity that could save you thousands of dollars. Key federal tax cuts for energy-saving appliances and upgrades are set to expire by the end of the year. Joining us right now is Ari Matuziak. He's the co-founder and president of and CEO of Rewiring America. Ari, thank you for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Great to have you. And we need some practical advice on how we can lock in some savings and look to future savings, Ari.
Well, so as you said, energy bills are going up in Charlotte and all around the country. And there are these federal tax credits that are available to get an EV, to purchase a heat pump, to replace your air conditioning and your heating system, to get a new efficient water heater, insulation, rooftop solar, battery backup. All of those things are covered by these federal tax credits, but they're going away for EVs at the end of this month and for the rest of them at the end of the year.
Okay, so what kind of tax credits are we talking about for each particular item? Solar panels through the heat pumps. Walk us through some of that.
Sure. So for these solar panels and battery backups, it's 30% off the top. For the heat pump systems and the insulation, it's a couple $1,000s that people can take off in terms of the savings. And so these incentives are really valuable and important to consider. EVs is another several $1,000s, $7,000 for a new EV, $4,000 for a used one. And so they're worth considering because they can lower those upfront costs considerably.
Yeah, so we think about these modern appliances and how expensive they are up front, but the investment can lower some of those energy bills for years to come, right?
Sure. Obviously, a family should make a decision about making a purchase like this when it makes sense for them. These federal tax credits are here now, but these appliances, these technologies are not going anywhere, and they can save people a lot. North Carolina in particular, families can save almost $1,000 a year on their heating and cooling bills by switching to a heat pump, and another $1,000 a year practically by adding rooftop solar. So these become real savings on people's energy bills that last for years and years to come. And so it's important just to know about what's available, even if you're not going to make a purchase right now, so that when the time is right, you have that information and can do so.
Yeah, so if someone's watching this right now, we're running out of time, end of the year is going to be here before you know it, they want to do this. How quickly can they act on this?
Well, they can act right now. We have a one-stop shop that we put together at america.org/save that can help them find those federal tax credits, but also state, local, and utility incentives. In North Carolina, there's a $1,500 credit or rebate for families that have old electric to get a new efficient heat pump. And you can stack that with that federal tax credit. So that becomes real money to take those upfront costs down. And that one-stop shop that we created is a way for you to find all that stuff, all those incentives, to connect to a quality contractor in the area, to make a plan for your home, and through our nonprofit to connect to an electric coach that can guide you through the process and answer questions that you have along the way.
All right, very good. What do you see as one of the biggest mistakes homeowners do make when it comes to energy saving appliances or upgrades?
Well, I think a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. And you end up in a situation where all of a sudden your furnace conks out or your water heater conks out and you say, oh, I need to go get this replaced right away because it's an emergency. Obviously, if your water heater breaks, you have to get it replaced because you don't want to take that cold shower. But if you know what your options are up front, you can make a plan around this and then take advantage and maximize the opportunity that you have for these kinds of federal tax credits, state, local, and utility incentives as well.
That's what it's about, making a plan. James, you just talked to him, my producer. You just told me, James, you changed your heat pumps because of the tax credits.
We figured we'd hop in on it while it was still on the table.
So
Good for you, James.
Yep, he did it. All right. James is a smart man, though. James, very smart.
That was credit to my wife.
Well,
Clear, right?
Smart, Mary, smart.
Always,
Thank you so much. Ari, very good. Ari
All right, thank you.
Matuziak from Rewiring America. Appreciate your time. Okay. Back here now. Let's go back. Shall we go back to Senator Collins? She is still on the stand. This is a tax event, or not a tax event, I'm reading the super there, but a healthcare event that is taking place out of Massachusetts, where Senator Susan Collins had earlier remarks. Let's continue to dip into this and see what their conversation is.
You try to find a solution, and then you try to implement that solution. The only difference is you can do that in less than a day in medicine, and it might take you a decade in Congress. That's true. But the thought process is very similar. I think medical people are very well suited to public policy and positions where you work on public policy.
Thank you. Dr. Kaler.
Well, you know, I too had always been interested in politics. The family table often was politics. And as I like to say, I was there at the beginning. My classmate in junior high and high school was Lee Atwater, who was the founder of the Republican strategy that had such an influence. He and I were sort of arch enemies, I would say, but good friends at the same time, which I would hope is something that will come forward. But I never thought about being in the political sphere until, you know, we started doing global clinical trials and had a lot of interactions with the FDA. So I wasn't really entering politics as much as I grew to admire the process by which evidence is collected, weighed and publicly discussed, and then decided upon. Last thing I'll say is being an FDA commissioner is a lot like running ICUs, which is what I did as a cardiologist. You come into work every day, you never know what's going to hit you about something you didn't know anything about until it happened. We were talking in the warm-up room there the day I was confirmed. This second time around was the day of the big infant formula recall. It was handed to me. Welcome to the FDA. We're going to shut down infant formula for 40% of the supply.
Wow. And curious, what's one thing you miss from your prior careers?
The patient interactions, and I think particularly, I'll just boast about cardiovascular medicine a little bit. I mean, it's an area where you see problems and you can make them better, and you can actually see the person get better. Sometimes it doesn't go that way, but that early gratification, which is what you talked about, that you make a difference, often in the political sphere, you don't feel that way.
I'd say the same. I mean, patients and families is what I miss most. I haven't done surgery since July of 2010, but I miss the patients, the families, the daily interaction with people. And honestly, my political staff, when I first got into Congress, everywhere we went, someone would come up to me and say, Dr. Bouchon, you operated on me or my mother, or it was striking. And so, you know, seeing those results and the difference you made is the piece I miss.
Yeah.
The people.
Well, thank you both for sharing that. You know, obviously, if we turn towards some of the policy issues, and we would encourage questions from the audience. If someone could help me reset the iPad, I'll be able to see those questions, but we would encourage them. You have to enter them through the app. So obviously, there's been the public trust in scientific institutions, to say the least, has been tested. And you know, I'd be curious as to your thoughts of what do you see as the biggest factor contributing to that erosion of trust? And what's one concrete step that each of you could recommend to try to restore that trust?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think you have to go to pre-COVID and post-COVID. I mean, there's two different pieces to this. Yeah. Pre-COVID, you know, I think overall, our society, we've started to lose some faith in not only the government institutions, but in traditional institutions in general across our society. That's pre-COVID. Post-COVID, I think, unfortunately, and I was in Congress then, I think, unfortunately, political people on both sides of the aisle, and I watched this happen in real time, that don't really understand, in my view, medicine and the process and the people and the history of how things work, and started to, I think, use COVID, use medicine, and use the fear that people had for political purposes, which I strongly disagree with as a physician. And I think, in my view, that has exacerbated the problem in the post-COVID era to the point where, now we're trying to reconstitute those things. One of the biggest things I think we need to do is regain confidence in institutions like the CDC and the FDA, and I think we will. But politicians need to temper the narrative and need to understand the situation, and where they don't understand it, allow people that do to help the American people bring back that confidence.
Well, I was studying misinformation academically well before COVID, and one thing I think most people do realize this, that skepticism and distrust of institutions is deeply embedded in American culture.
Well, that's true.
Going way back. And then I think the internet came along and accelerated things that were already happening, and then COVID really accelerated. I agree with you on that. But I do think we have to come to grips with what's happening in social media and the internet. There's a book that Yuval Harari wrote, many people have read, Sapiens, his first book. The second one is on the history of information networks. And the point he makes is that even if you look at the printing press, what followed the printing press was almost 200 years of the Dark Ages, where the main thing that happened was proliferation of the idea that your next door neighbor could be a witch and should be hung. And a lot of people were killed because of just access to spreading information. And his point is the bad guys win when there's an immediate proliferation, and we've got the ultimate going on right now. Another great quote from him is that truth is behind the paywall, lies are free. In other words, if you want to make it up, you just make it up. And you can, I worked at Alphabet for 6 years between my FDA stints, and part of the reason I did it was to try to understand this. And I did not come away with solutions to the problem. If you want to make it up, you can make it up, and you can iterate quickly and find your place. So if you're selling something or trying to promote lies, if you're telling the truth, you have an obligation to spend some time working on it, and also acknowledge the uncertainty, which makes it harder to get your point across. And the last point I'd make is that it's not just scientific institutions. If you look at confidence in large biomedical healthcare delivery systems, it's dropping like a stone also. So this is not just a matter of science, it's a matter of belief in a system that most of us grow up believing in, that we study things, we figure out what the problem is, we try to address the problem, we gather evidence. And what's taking its place is influencers on social media.
How do you think we should handle that? In the case of my own children, they've grown up with nothing but. Their entire lives have been exposed to social media. And how do you handle it in your own family with kids or grandkids?
Not well.
Yeah.
I will say, we have heated discussions in our family about this with multiple points of view. And my grandson, who has my same birthday, I'm turning 74, he's turning 11 coming up in just next month, actually the end of this month. I think that we don't know how to come to grips with it. Not that I would shamelessly promote something, but I have a Substack, and I would urge people, if you get a chance, look at the latest installment. One of our cardiology fellows at the peak of career sent me a note about her pregnancy. And how did she find out what to do practically with her own pregnancy? Because she couldn't, even being a medical person, you can only see the obstetrician a certain number of times. It was TikTok. But then she went through all the things that she saw on TikTok that looked equally as convincing, that were actually dangerous for pregnant women to do. And what do we teach medical students or nursing students or pharmacy students about this? Nothing, as far as I can tell. And yet this is the world that our patients are living in. Yeah. There are remedies in it. That's one thing we could do. I think the most important thing right now is be aware and be socially active, because one thing that is proven is the best remedy to misinformation is a personal interaction with someone that's trusted. And nurses are number one trusted, doctors are a distant second.
That is true. Well, I have adult children, so my kids are 32, 30, 27, and 21, so I have a 6-year gap. And I'll just comment, I agree with all of what Dr. Caleb just said. I mean, just within our own household, we just educated the children, our kids when they were little about, but social media really kicked in after my first two, and so the last two, especially my 21-year-old, and so I think it's up to us individually in our households, number one, to educate our own children the best we can. But I think we need more educational institutions to pick up on this process, starting when kids are 5 years old in kindergarten, about what's on the internet, what the internet means, what social media means, and the fact that everything you read isn't true. Some things are.
Now, Patrick, you may want to comment on this, but I've given up hope that our large academic institutions are going to deal with this. So I'm working with students now to develop chapters at the institutions to disrupt things, and it's fascinating to see how much they know and want to know about this world that they're living in. And
I'm talking more about like grade school, like educational institutions, it's schools, and so kids understand it. But here's the good news, right? The difference between my 32 and 30-year-olds and my 21-year-olds. My 21-year-old and all, she goes to the University of Texas, but her and her colleagues are disconnecting themselves from social media because that generation, what they call them, Gen Z now, are starting to be disgruntled with social media because of all of the things that are on there, and are actually pulling away from it and I'm just speaking for her and her friends. So I think, with a little bit more push, we can get people to start to disconnect some and use it for.
And you have been watching a live healthcare event taking place out of Boston, Massachusetts, talking about medical innovations. We have a quick break coming up here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. After the break, a special guest in-house. He is his trajectory. He is just, after being named one of the best restaurants by the New York Times. We'll be right back. All right, time right now, 10:04 on a Monday morning. How's this for Monday motivation? A New York Times review can make or break a restaurant overnight. For many chefs, it represents the ultimate validation, a moment transforming a small neighborhood restaurant spot into a culinary destination. The praise can lead to weeks of sold-out reservations, national recognition, name recognition, career-defining momentum. He doesn't need it, though. He is Callan Buckles, chef of So all over the buttons here. Chef, thank you for coming in here this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Because you worked late last night, didn't you?
Yeah, we're not too late. We close around 10 p.m. So.
Oh, 10 p.m. Okay, because people want their Sunday dinner, kind of quickly.
Right.
Right? But, living in the restaurateur world, and how did you first learn about this recognition? What was your immediate reaction?
Yeah, so we were reached out to us a little bit ago by the New York Times for some photos, but obviously they're very clandestine in what it was for.
Nice.
But I have a friend in New York City who owns a restaurant called Smithereens, and his name is Nicholas Tamburo, and he actually sent me the link and said, "Oh my gosh, congratulations!" At late on, I believe it was September the 8th in the evening. I was sitting at home. And he knew because his restaurant was actually right above ours on that list. We worked together for many, many years. So that's how I first found out about it. It was really a surprise and a shock to me. I did not expect something like that coming.
Fantastic. So were you just like, what are you talking about? Congratulations.
Well, once he sent the link, I almost immediately knew what was going on, but I just took me a second to really believe it and let it sink in.
Fantastic. Yeah. You've worked at some of New York's most respected restaurants. Speaking of, the Big Apple, Claude, the Four Horsemen. How did those experiences shape what you wanted here at Rada? And if you would, describe the cuisine at Rada, because I saw pictures and it looks very fancy and delicious.
Yeah. I mean, Claude and Four Horsemen were both definitely some formative times for me. The Four Horsemen, I actually left a sous chef management role to kind of step back into being a line cook and work with Chef Nick Curtola. It's a very small, tight kitchen with a very focused menu. And he has a deep respect for, sourcing the best of an ingredient and really kind of letting that thing be the star. And it's very similar to how they do things at Claude. Both of those restaurants kind of have dishes that are not too dressed up, and they really just kind of let the core item be the best thing it can be. One of the most popular things at Claude on the menu is their chicken, which is a roast chicken with some jus on top, very similar to the one we actually were recently serving. Whenever we are using ingredients at the restaurant, we're using the highest quality we can find. So all of our vinegars are a specific brand that comes from Spain. It's really high quality. A lot of restaurants you see kind of like the big gallon jug of vinegars that can be very generic.
Right.
And we don't really kind of like use those kinds of things. We try to focus on the highest quality we can find.
Down to the vinegar. This is this the anchovy? The picture's right there to your...
Oh, yes. So that is our Gilda. It's a Basque country pincho. There's a place I used to go in New York called El Pinguino, and I would sit there and drink martinis and eat Gildas whenever I could. So I had to bring that with me to the menu here.
Oh, fantastic. Why Charlotte?
So my partner, Emily, her family all live here. They ran a restaurant in Ballantyne called OG for many years.
Oh, okay.
And I met her living in New York, and we got pregnant and decided to be closer to her family that we're all based here. So we actually live a block away from her mother and her sister, niece and nephew, and her brother's 5 minutes down the road.
That works out, and that's why you don't work so late now on a Sunday night as a chef. Okay, so I'm reading also some of the review highlights, some of the signature dishes, and looking at this picture that's making my mouth water. And I'm also reading about the ricotta fritters. I mean, oh my gosh, my mouth is beginning to water. So do you have, and I like this, that Rada evokes this New York feel, but it sounds European cuisine as well. A lot of that influence from there.
For sure. A lot of the restaurants I've worked in have kind of like always taken a New York spin on a lot of classic European dishes. This steak, for instance, is a steak au poivre, very classic French sauce. But we get that beef right next door from a butcher shop called the Chop Shop. And they're based out of Asheville. They have a butcher shop there, a butcher shop here in Charlotte. They own their own ranches. They own their own processing facility. It's a really awesome local business that we like to support. And they give us really high quality beef. And we just take the time and care to love it with a au poivre sauce that we put a lot of effort into making just as well as we can.
I mean, we hear this concept of local to table, people getting the best of the best, and that is, makes such a difference. But now you are like upper echelon of the local to table, the farm to table, this idea of just getting and sourcing the best seasonal ingredients. What is it that made this Rada stand out?
I personally can't speak to the intangibles, but I really feel like it's kind of those really focused movements. There can be a casual approach, which I really appreciate, and I learned a lot of that at Claude, because you can come to a restaurant where somebody's got a button-up shirt and a tie, and they're like, "Good evening, I'm so-and-so, I'll be your server tonight." But you can also walk up and make people feel comfortable.
Right.
And be like, "Hey guys, what's up? My name's Callan, I'll take care of you tonight." And you can have that comfortable approach, but as long as you're approaching it with the same focus and intensity as those really fine dining restaurants, it's really going to make that difference. When somebody realizes that you're picking up the fork a certain way and carrying it away in a certain way, and you're not just kind of like stacking things, and like if you are using that focus just in everything that you do, even if it's casual, it feels fine.
Leveled up.
Yeah, leveled up.
The 9 European wines. Talk to me about this, as I love a good glass of wine.
I am personally undereducated in the wine department.
Okay.
I've worked at a lot of places and worked with a lot of people who are very, very educated and do that really well. And we have a really awesome guy named Jared Swick who develops our wine menu, and he has focused on making those wines exactly what they should be to go with our food.
All right, so now let's talk about, since this has made it to the New York Times list, what has the response been like? Because I've been to, and I went to, Italy for a summer vacation. I went to a restaurant, just a casual pizza place, and they were excited because they made it on the New York Times list, years ago. Like, that's their claim to fame, and they are always crowded at this casual spot there in Rome. So what is the response like at Rada now?
Yeah, it's really been an exciting week for sure. Fridays and Saturdays are, at most restaurants, they're the busiest nights of the week. But now we're kind of starting to see that level of business bleed over into those Sunday nights, those Mondays, those Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They're picking up quite a bit, and we're very grateful. Both to the New York Times for putting this spotlight on us, but also to the city of Charlotte for really supporting this business.
Fantastic. So we're like reading, the reporters for the New York Times, like a whole team of them, over a dozen, flew all over the country, 76 flights, 33 states, all, hundreds of meals, and now you're listed with the best of the best. So what do you do now? What does the future look like for Rada?
The future for us is really going to be on definitely making sure we're not resting on our laurels, right? We want to always be improving every single day, but we're just trying to bring the same attention that we always have, and just use that to build upon daily, and continue just to do exactly what we've been doing that gets this recognition,
Yeah. It's so fantastic. For food lovers who want to experience Rada, I would imagine that it is quite busy, but what do you advise people if they want to check you out?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to keep a limited amount of space for walk-ins when when the weather's nice. The patio is usually open because we don't like to make reservations there, just in case you never know what's happening. But definitely our reservations go live 2 weeks out.
Okay.
And so Resi is the best place to be for that.
Resi, do it. All right, 2 weeks out. Are you working on new items? You're going to, continue perfecting what's already on the menu and give the people a chance to check things out.
Yeah. Well, I kind of I have a brain that works in a very specific way, and I picked a lot of this up from my friend Nick Tamburo, who has that restaurant Smithereens I referenced before, where I kind of get bored of things quickly. So even if I really love a dish, sometimes I'm always thinking about the next thing. And when I set my heart on doing something, I usually do it for as long as I feel good, and then if there's something interesting else, I move on to that next thing.
Okay.
So there's never a promise that things are going to be exactly the same. Even the steak au poivre, we just changed that sauce to be steak Diane.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So steak Diane it is these days. If you go over to Rada, Chef Callan Buckles, thanks again for coming in. Congratulations, really. That's such a feat. I mean, I've heard other restaurants that have done that, and really, like I said earlier, the trajectory of said restaurant goes through the roof. So enjoy. Thank you for representing Charlotte, and glad that Emily was able to, get you and the baby here close to family.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate your time. Congratulations again. Rada in Charlotte, New York Times, one of America's best restaurants to try out. Let's take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Just wanted to grab one more glimpse of that glorious food from Rada. All right, take you back now to Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, a health care event taking place on some of the medical innovations being discussed. Let's continue to dip in live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
I think and I don't have any specifics, but I think what we need to continue to do is we need to look at barriers that maybe prevent innovative people based on the regulatory process from being innovative. And again, I don't have any right now, one button I would push to make that happen. But I think we do need to, again, talk to innovators and ask them from a regulatory standpoint, from a legislative standpoint, what are the biggest issues today that has created this impression that a lot of innovation and and development is gravitating away from the United States and fix those things. So I don't have a specific button to push, but I think there are barriers sometimes, and whether that is the availability of research dollars from the federal government, which has been retracting in the current administration, whether that's more engagement of more than they already do from the private sector in private sector funded, whether that's the difficulty in doing clinical trials and getting a diverse population of people to participate in clinical trials. I also worked on that issue with Dr. Ruiz from California. We need to take down those barriers.
Well, first of all, I'd say we need a Cures 2.0 for food. I'll just point out that MAHA has done a service by making it popular to recognize that our food environment is one of the worst things for American health today, and it needs to be fixed. And I'm all okay with my Fruit Loops being less colorful, but you're not going to fix this problem by taking away some colorful dyes, which have never been shown to actually have an effect on health in the way we normally think about evidence. But it's okay to do that. What we've got to do is change the food environment so people without a lot of money can get healthy food, and the food system is incentivized to provide that. So I think there's a whole bunch of stuff there that could be done that's different than the direction HHS is currently going. I'd also point out that one very specific thing that's come up is, we had an issue with phase 1 cardiovascular device trials. You may have been involved in this, I don't know, but we recognize they were all being done outside the U.S., and we recognized that and fixed it. So now the majority of phase 1 trials in cardiovascular.
All right, back here now, live in the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. September is Healthy Aging Month, and today we're addressing a very, very important topic here affecting millions of older Americans, and that is geriatric depression. Dr. Bernie Ranchero, a family medicine physician, and his patient Connie Thomas, who at 77 has navigated her own mental health journey, coming here on Live Impact News. Thank you, you two, for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Jane.
Dr. Ranchero, research showing millions of seniors now struggle with mental health issues, yet do not seek treatment. From your perspective as a family physician, what are those biggest barriers that we're seeing?
One of the biggest barriers is just the realization that natural aging does not include depression. When you have symptoms of social isolation or being withdrawn, symptoms of hopelessness, that is not signs of natural aging, and that is not healthy, and that we should get help.
Why is simply talking about it the first step, breaking them down, though?
That's a great question. And it's really just getting the help they need, whether it be a loved one or going to your primary care provider and getting the help and saying that I am suffering from these symptoms and these conditions.
Connie, you have been on your own personal journey with this, with mental health, decades ago. Did you find it hard to talk about it at first? And what ultimately made you open up?
Okay. No, I didn't really have a hard time talking about it because I really knew that I needed help. And in 1987, I had breast cancer. And 6 months later, I had breast cancer again. And then I had 3 small children at home. And I was single parent. And I was the only one that worked. And I knew I needed help because with the body change and having the 3 children, and I just couldn't handle it, all by myself. So I knew I needed help. So I went and talked to my doctor, and he put me on a medication, which helped. But I was on that medication for several years, and the same one. And then when I retired, I always took my grandchildren to school. For 18 years I did that. That was part of my life. And I retired. They were out of high school and in college. And then it was like I didn't have a reason to get up every morning because I didn't have nothing to do or nowhere to go. So then my day would be like that. So then I went to Dr. Ranchero, which he's been my doctor for several years, and he did the gene site test on me and got the results, and he lowered my medication, which I was taking too much. And so ever since I lowered the dose, I have been a lot better, and I see things a lot different than I did. I have a better outlook on life than what I did.
Dr. Ranchero, how do you get to this point what is the process of one, empowering patients to be able to talk to their doctor about something like this, and then finding out medication, what's right, how much is right? What is the process that you go about with this?
The gene site test is a simple cheek swab. It's done once in your lifetime. And if you're Medicare over the age of 65, it's 100% covered by Medicare. And it'll determine based on your individual DNA, based on your own genes, which medications will be the most tolerated, and most importantly, which medications will work the fastest. So we're not guessing at what medications to try so that you can live the life that you're meant to live.
Okay, so from a clinical perspective, that is what genetic testing does. It helps out how to balance the two?
Yes, absolutely. Genetic testing helps us, based on your individual DNA, which medications would be best for that patient. So it's individualized.
Very interesting. And Connie, seniors are usually the mentors in their own family as well as their communities. What would you say to other people out there like you? Like you said, you raised your children, and then once they were out, but when you reach that point that you realize, and were self-aware enough, I mean, you had the wherewithal enough to realize that you are also dealing with your own mental health challenges. What do you tell others that might find themselves in your place?
Okay, I would talk to them as a friend, and then have them open up and tell me how they're feeling, and then have them go to their family doctor, because you don't have to go to a psychiatrist to get help. You can go to your family doctor. And I had a friend in my family, and they were really depressed, and I talked with her and finally got her into a doctor, and she is so much better. And I don't really know what would have happened to her if I hadn't talked her into going to the doctor. And I am doing great on the lower dose of medication, and I have a better outlook on life than what I did 3 or 4 years ago.
Glad to hear it, Connie. I appreciate your sharing of your story. Dr. Ranchero, any other message that we should let families know about their loved ones?
You know what? Really, it's being an advocate for yourself, being an advocate for your loved ones, and so that we can promote living the life that you're meant to live with peace, joy, happiness, and with some love. And I think letting patients know that as we age, they can still have that and have it to its fullest.
I like the sound of that. Dr. Bernie Ranchero and Connie Thomas, appreciate your time and for the important discussion. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Just about 10:30 right now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's go to Governor Josh Stein. He is speaking live right now at an event strengthening Western North Carolina. This is happening live. Let's listen in on his comments on Live Impact News.
Hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians had their lives turned upside down. The people of Western North Carolina are incredibly strong and resilient. They've spent the last year working arm in arm to support each other. And my team in Raleigh and I have been focused on trying to emulate their example. I've been pleased to work with the General Assembly to pass 2 bipartisan appropriation bills in excess of $1 billion in recovery funding, important efforts for housing, private roads and bridges, local government infrastructure, agriculture and crop loss, and education. Our Western North Carolina Small Business Initiative awarded grants totaling $55 million to more than 2,100 small businesses to help them get back on their feet, reopen their doors. Nearly every agency and state government has contributed to recovery efforts in one way or another, and I'm also very grateful for our relationships with our federal partners. We are grateful for every federal dollar that we have received because it brings us closer to recovery. But we need more help. The next stage of recovery is going to require a new commitment from Congress and from the administration to not forget the people of Western North Carolina. Western North Carolina has not received anywhere near what it needs, nor our fair share. So far, North Carolina has received or been awarded federal funding equivalent to about 9% of the total damage that Helene caused. States that were similarly devastated following Hurricanes Katrina, Maria, or Sandy saw 70% of their damages covered by federal funding. The average is typically between 40 and 50% of total damage in federal relief dollars. Today, I am making a new request of Congress for an additional $13.5 billion in recovery assistance. And I'll be headed to Washington on Wednesday for meetings to further this request to our federal partners. Here's where the $13.5 billion needs to go. First of all, people still need to get back in their homes. Roughly 74,000 homes were damaged by the storm. Very few of those had flood insurance. These homeowners need a safe place to anchor their lives and remain in their community. They need help rebuilding their homes. The same goes for our small business owners, a second priority. 96% of small businesses in the area reported impacts from Helene. Western North Carolina's economy relies heavily on the strength of small businesses, and if we don't support those businesses, we will lose jobs and people will struggle to put food on the table. 6 out of 7 businesses have not yet reached their pre-Helene revenues. I thank HUD for working with us to approve North Carolina's action plan to utilize $1.4 billion in Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. How's that for a mouthful? CDBG DR is a flexible program that can support rebuilding homes, helping our small businesses, and repairing our infrastructure, which is important given the unique challenges of rebuilding in a mountainous region. While the CDBG DR grant model, we can get building right away without the cash flow problems of reimbursement programs. HUD has been a good partner to North Carolina, and I want to build on that success. That's why I am requesting $8 billion in CDBG DR grants to help us get the job done here in Western North Carolina. We're also asking for $400 million from the Small Business Administration to offer more forgivable loans to North Carolina small businesses. Our Small Business Initiative successfully awarded grants to 2,100 small businesses, but the demand for those grants far exceeded the supply. We want to build on that effort because when small businesses succeed, we all succeed. Next, I'm requesting $2 billion in new FEMA funding from Congress. After Hurricane Katrina, Congress created special community disaster loans that enabled local governments to continue the basic work of running their cities, paying police officers, picking up trash. Western North Carolina towns and cities were forced to spend money that they didn't have to rescue people from disaster. And with so many people displaced and business activity diminished, there is no such thing as a stable source of revenue for these local governments. I'm requesting Congress make the same type of loan program available here as they did to people, towns, impacted by Katrina. The final major portion of this request relates to our roads and bridges. Hurricane Helene damaged 5,000 miles of state-maintained roads, as well as many private driveways and bridges. I am incredibly proud of North Carolina DOT's work to reopen more than 97% of state-maintained roads that were closed because of the storms. But we're still waiting on reimbursements for much of the work that's already been done, and it's not a matter of simply doing quick repairs to get the roads reopened. We've got to build roads that will last. For example, I-40 has reopened, and people use it to go to Tennessee and back on a daily basis. We were able to repair it so fast only by using temporary measures. To get I-40 back to full strength, it will take more than $1 billion. That is just one, albeit a very important, example. So I'm requesting nearly $2 billion in new funding from Congress, not just to restore our roads to normal, but also to protect them against future damage and build them back stronger than before. These 4 areas, restoring homes, supporting small businesses, bolstering local governments, and building roads that will last, make up the majority of the new $13.5 billion appropriation request of Congress. But that's not all we are seeking. We're still waiting on billions of dollars that Congress appropriated last December with the American Relief Act. We are grateful for the millions that have gotten signed off in recent weeks. They are essential and sorely needed, but we're waiting on billions. We're seeking $6 billion. Is that the president? The funds that have come through in recent weeks have been sorely needed, much appreciated, but we are waiting on billions. We're seeking $6 billion in either allocated or competitive awards from previously appropriated funds. So in this budget request, I am once again calling on federal agencies to take action to allocate these funds and get them out the door to help the people of Western North Carolina. We've learned a great deal over this past year, and I am proud of the progress that we've made together, and we will keep fighting every day to get people the help that they need, because the people of Western North Carolina are not asking for a handout. They're asking for a hand up to get back on their feet. Recovery is a team sport. The state has been putting in money and effort, and 1 year after this terrible tragedy, it is time for our federal government to meet the needs of the people of Western North Carolina. Thank you, and I'm pleased to invite forward Senator Corbin, incredible partner in the General Assembly and one of the 2 excellent co-chairs of this advisory council. Senator.
Thank you, Governor, and I'd like to echo his thanks for this group that's standing behind me. Mayor Manheimer and I are pleased to be chairing this committee of very talented, nonpartisan leaders from every spectrum of Western North Carolina. So thank you for your time and your effort and your service. This is and continues to be a pleasure for us. Good morning. I'm here to lend my support to Governor Stein's request for $13.5 billion in new Helene funding from Congress. The North Carolina General Assembly has worked hard over the past year to come across our differences and focus on getting people the help that they need. Just this year, as Governor Stein referenced, we've passed 2 disaster relief bills that have totaled more than $1 billion in aid to Western North Carolina. If you go back late last year and total that up, it's about $2.2 billion, and that's with a B. And I believe, Governor, before now, the most that the General Assembly has ever allocated for storm relief is about $500 million. So we're already at 4 times that, and we have more money waiting to be allocated. I know that the legislature will continue to work together and work with Governor Stein to keep recovery efforts moving forward. However, we do need the federal government to continue to partner with us in this effort. Folks, we're talking about $60 billion in damages. That's way more than this state can pay for. Let me put that in perspective for you. Our budget for the entire year, this is everything the state pays for, schools, police, roads, is about $34 billion. So the damage is almost double the amount of our entire state budget. Our budget for the, we need federal help because of that. And 60 billion, folks, is not just a number. It's people getting a roof over their head, being able to put food on the table. At this point, I want to echo what the governor said. I want to personally thank President Trump. If that was him, tell him we'll call him back as soon as this is over. But we'll personally thank President Trump, Senators Budd and Tillis, Representative Edwards, for everything that they've done so far in getting us on the right track for recovery. And I urge them to stand by our side in this next phase. I look forward to working with the governor to encourage and support this request in D.C. So thank you. At this point, I want to introduce my co-chair, the mayor of Asheville, Esther Mannheimer.
Thank you, Senator Corbin, and thank you, Governor. And standing here with me, it's been our pleasure to chair the Western North Carolina Recovery Committee. These are representatives from all across Western North Carolina. And we've been meeting in various communities and been able to see firsthand what these communities experienced through this hurricane. I'm going to talk a little bit about what our challenges are in Asheville, but I think they're representative of all the affected towns and counties that were hit by Hurricane Helene. In Asheville, we've come a long way this past year as we approach this one-year milestone. A lot of services have been restored, like water and power, communications, and many of our roads, not all of our roads, but many of our roads. But now we're moving into the period of long-term recovery. Our unemployment rates are still too high. They have not recovered to pre-storm lows. Many of our businesses, especially those near the French Broad River and the Swannanoa Rivers, were significantly damaged or destroyed, and they're still working to reopen. Some have managed to reopen, some still have not. The infrastructure damaged by the floods that supports these businesses also needs repair and rebuilding. And many of our parks along the river, including playgrounds, a swimming pool, soccer fields, a golf course, multi-use paths that are normally enjoyed by thousands, are in need of repair. Some stormwater and water infrastructure is still in need of either repair or significant improvement to make us more resilient in the face of future events. And we still need to get rid of debris and destroyed structures that linger on private property and make our city look much less welcoming to locals and visitors alike. The city is also undertaking the massive job of removing debris in the 20,000 acres of watershed property around the Norfolk Reservoir, which is why it is so important that during this time and through this hurricane season, FEMA continues to support the cost of operating the temporary water filtration system built by the Army Corps of Engineers that is located at the reservoir. Even with this work ahead of us, today, almost 1 year later, Asheville is open for business. But every investment, every dollar of support will help us continue our journey of recovery and help us to rebuild an economy better than ever, to not only host those who want to visit, but provide jobs and quality of life for those that live there. Recovery costs money, more money than any city or county in Western North Carolina can manage, even from a cash flow standpoint. We continue to work to recover, all while waiting for FEMA to reimburse us. And I will say as an aside, I know there's a lot of staff here from cities and counties, how much time it's taking out of our lives every day just to fight to be reimbursed for the funds that have already been allocated by Congress. We need to do other important recovery work rather than continuing to advocate for these vital reimbursements. I am grateful for the reimbursements that have come through, but the lag time makes it that much harder for us to do our jobs. So I stand with Governor Stein and his request for more help from Congress. We've come so far, but we have a long way to go. And now I'm going to thank you all and turn it back over to the governor.
Happy to take questions, either the senator, mayor, or I, or anyone else.
What is the holdup? Why is it taking so long to get this all ready?
Some of it is that the work is yet to be done. The DOT has not repaired every road, but they've repaired many more roads than they've been reimbursed. There was news a week or two ago about the Secretary of Homeland Security approving funds that were on her desk. She has to now approve every reimbursement in excess of $100,000, and that was slowing things down dramatically. She has approved a number of those funds. Great news, we don't have access to that money yet because they've created a third bureaucratic level of review called Defend the Spend, and it's in this DOGE committee, and that can take another 30 to 90 days. So we're getting approved by FEMA, then, and that used to be it. Once that happened, you used to be able to get the money and get it right back to these local governments. Now it needs to then be approved by the Secretary of Homeland Security. That used to be it. Now it has to be approved by DOGE. And so all of this is slowing down the reimbursements, which means these local governments do not have cash flow. This is for projects they've already done that were approved, and they're just waiting on the reimbursement, and it's taking way too long.
Two clarification questions. The 9%, is that's to this point, those percentages, is that total or is that to that?
Yeah.
Compared to those other storms to date?
To date, that I can't tell you. It's a fair question, and your point is correct, in that the 9% is what we've either received or have been awarded. So, for instance, the $1.6 billion in CDBG-DR money that we've been awarded, we haven't received that money yet. We've spent just a fraction of it. DOT has another billion-something dollars that have been allocated, awarded, but we haven't received that money yet. So what we want is, over the end period, to be able to make sure that North Carolina is fairly treated. The federal government has been a good partner, and I want to echo what Senator Corbin said. Our two United States senators, Senators Tillis and Budd, Representative Edwards, the entire delegation, they've been championing Western North Carolina. We just need, this is the next step, and this is the time when they need to step up and make another major appropriation.
Do you know what, like, if you were to compare how long it took previously when you only needed FEMA approval to now, is that months, weeks, or what?
I'll have to get back to you on that. All I know is that these extra layers of bureaucratic review is slowing down the reimbursement to these local governments.
I've heard Representative Edwards say that 1,000 times that there's too much bureaucracy in government in general, and it sounds like that another layer has been added. There will be other natural disasters in North Carolina. There have been other natural disasters in the United States this year. Is this something that you think North Carolina can champion about cutting through some of that red tape to get our communities back on track?
Yes, FEMA plays a critical role. I think everyone up here will say that their experience with FEMA generally was positive. It played a constructive role in the immediate response and then the starting of the recovery process. But it is too slow, and it can be restructured. It can be reformed. It can be improved so that the funds come quicker. The funds can be used for more than just getting a house back to the state of repair it was before the storm, but actually can be used to strengthen and improve a home. Because right now, you get money immediately to help with your home right after the storm from FEMA. Then you have to wait a year, sometimes 2 years, to get the HUD money to improve your home. And that's just, it adds expense, it adds time, it adds inconvenience. So there are ways that we can streamline the recovery process, and we will be working with the administration to do just that.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
And you were watching Governor Stein's press conference, the latest on Hurricane Helene, federal fund aid to help with the recovery in Western North Carolina. With that, let's take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We have been showing you pictures now of a mobile home area, a mobile home fire that is taking place. This is in Iredell County, a live picture right now in the 100 block of Pecos Lane that is on Buffalo Shoals Road. The information from Iredell County Fire Services that it is a mobile home fire and propane tank that exploded. So you can still see the hot spots with the smoldering smoke there and crews still on the scene. But from a viewer who sent us this video earlier, this is what it looked like earlier. All of that dark smoke into the air. You can just see how strong it is and how powerful that fire was not too long ago. So this video just showing what how bad of a fire it was. We can confirm that the mobile home fire caused a propane tank to explode. And so as we get you caught up with that, the live pictures here now, you could see all of that damage done to at least one home. We'll keep tabs on this with our crew on scene and bring you the very latest on WCNC Charlotte at midday come 11:30. In the meantime, take you out now to a live press conference. This is the governor of Illinois, and he is talking immigration and ICE. Chicago has been in the headlines recently. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
We are at war, not with a foreign adversary, but with each other. I don't believe any of that. Our people are not at war with one another. In these moments, real leaders offer words of solace and calm. Except for one, every president in my lifetime has done this in the wake of political violence. They take action for positive change. They bring people together. They make Americans feel safe. They let them know violence is never the answer. This is a watershed moment in our country. We can choose to stay silent and live in fear of more political violence, or we can choose to be loud for peace, for compassion, and for an America where people settle their political differences through free speech and at the ballot box. Let's be those people. That's the path Illinois chooses, and I implore the President to do the same. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media. Yes?
For weeks now, Chicago has been preparing for this massive influx Bermuda-style tactics that we saw in LA. You were suggesting maybe Mexican Independence Day festivities might be a target. We haven't seen that scale. Where are we now? What do you expect? Are people no longer afraid? Are they not going to come anymore? Or what do you?
No, ICE has been gathering its agents. It has taken them longer than I think they anticipated. And so we still, and they are active, as you have seen. They are, and we've seen a death on Friday as a result of their entering communities and putting people into fear. So I expect that this will continue. I expect that they now have more people on the ground and will effectuate their plans to an even greater degree. Yes, Mary Ann.
Governor, from your initial comments about Charlie Kirk and your comments again today, there was been some pushback from Republicans. Some said they would like to file articles of impeachment. They were so upset with what you had to say. Some might even perceive these comments today as a sorry, but you're still blaming President Trump, and they're going to say this is not the appropriate time.
Anyone who is fomenting attacks, anyone who is saying things that, especially in this moment, right, when we should have calm, when we should have someone at the top who is asking people to take a step back, anyone who's doing that deserves criticism. And I think it's incumbent upon me as the leader of this state to tell people that we need to act with calm in this moment, that people need to act peacefully in this moment.
You have called Republicans Nazis.
No, I have not. That is completely false. I have never called Republicans Nazis.
I'm glad you cleared that up because there are some.
Well, that's what they'd like to say. They're lying. They're lying.
Some have asked me to ask you that.
Well, that's not what I called them.
But are you as well, by not just calling out political violence and ending it, are you also criticizing, are you fomenting?
No, look, we can be critical of one another. This is a democracy. We can be critical of one another. We can belong to different political parties and have different views and act in a peaceful fashion. I have always advocated that if one is to protest, they should protest peacefully. I've always advocated that you should speak out, use your megaphones, your microphones, stand on a soapbox to do so, go to the ballot box. Those are all the ways that in politics we act. That's the way I've always known that we act in political life in the United States. And yet now we see, that there are people who not only act violently, but those who encourage that kind of violence. And in this, especially in this moment, we should be asking people to instead call for calm. And that's what I'm doing. I think that's what our leaders should be doing across the board. Yes, hi, Olivia.
Last week, it didn't sound like you were totally confident that the National Guard wasn't going to come. Today, you mentioned again people are still kind of scared. What's your level of confidence on whether they won't actually show up, and what are you hearing from sources that think on that?
Well, I'm pleased that the president has said that he is not sending National Guard or military troops to Chicago. So we should all celebrate that comment of his, and I'm glad to hear it. On the other hand, as you've heard, the president says things one day and then goes back on them the next day, changes his mind from week to week. So we never really know what he intends to do. All I can say is that sending troops into any American city is a terrible idea. The law and the Constitution only allow it in the case of insurrection or a national emergency, and those are not taking place in any city across the United States.
So no updates from over the weekend about that, so kind of the same as Friday?
Have not heard anything more than what the president said on Friday.
Governor, there were a couple of days reviews of images that come out from the ICE shooting in Central Park. What is your discussion of how that went out?
Well, we need more information. We've asked ICE for all of the information around it. They have given very little. I know that there is an ICE agent who was taken to the hospital. Don't currently know that person's condition, don't exactly know what the injuries were or exactly from what. But it's important for us to know that, as well as what were the circumstances that were leading them to pursue this person in the way that they did. This is somebody who, as I understand, was on their way home, perhaps, from drug.
You've been watching live the governor of Illinois speaking at a press conference on immigration and ICE targeting Chicago. Looks like it's 11 o'clock. I will be back at 12:30 here on Live Impact News. Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great morning.